The message of Islam is a message of knowledge. It is built upon knowledge. The core of everything is knowledge. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a tremendous book called A'lam al-Muwaqqi'in Rabbil Alameen, where he explains a tremendous advice that was given by Ali ibn Abi Talib to Kumail ibn Ziyad. And from that advice is a statement of Ali where he says, Al-ilmu khayrun min al-mal. That knowledge is better than money. The knowledge is better than money. There is nothing more important for the Muslims to establish themselves and their families and their communities than knowledge. Knowledge is more important than anything else, to the point that it is more important than money itself. Knowledge, mandatory knowledge, is more important than anything else. Ibn Qayyim, he explains in his explanation of that passage, and he takes around 80 pages or so. In some printings of the book, there are multiple printings of A'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, and he explaining the lengthy advice of Ali to Kumail ibn Ziyad, and he explains in around, I believe, 80 ways, around 80 reasons why knowledge is better than money. Ask yourself, do you believe that? Is knowledge more important to you than money? How many people, it's easy to say, right? Yes, knowledge is more important than money. And why do you fall asleep every time you grab a book and try to read a paragraph? If knowledge was more important than money. If knowledge was more important to us than money, and this would be a whole different world that we lived in. And it would be a different life that we were living. Allah help us. The Shaykh Abdullah Qudayan, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was once asked, there's a kind of humorous statement. He was once asked, hey, the student of knowledge, the person who was serious about learning, how many hours a day should he read? He said, Shaykh Abdullah Qudayan, who was Abdullah Qudayan? Rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him. A scholar of fiqh, a scholar, you just say a scholar, right? Scholar of everything, right? A scholar of everything. Who was on the Lajnatul Da'ima, who was on the permanent committee for fatwa. May Allah have mercy upon him. Alhamdulillah, we advise our brothers, if you have the opportunity to travel and visit, see the scholars and learn from the scholars, do so. Alhamdulillah. To have a memory about a scholar, to have seen Fawzan with your eyes, to have seen Luhaydan with your eyes, to have seen Qudayan with your eyes, to have seen Shaykh Rabi'a with your eyes. For our brothers who are a little older than us, who saw Shaykh Ibn Baz with their eyes, some of whom met Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala while he was in the Islamic University with their eyes, who sat with the likes of Hammad al-Ansari and those sorts of ulama who have long since passed. It's a tremendous blessing. Shaykh Abdullah Qudayan, he said, the student of knowledge, the serious student of knowledge should not read for any less than 18 hours a day. President says, yeah, right. You read for 18 hours a day. You have to really enjoy learning to read like that. The explainer of this book is Sheikh Suhailah al-Sheikh, whose words we're reading right here. He said that I believe he was talking about one of the ulama who was the peers, I forget his name, who was one of the close friends, an Egyptian scholar who was living in Riyadh for some time, who was a Lughawi scholar. He was a scholar of the Arabic language, and he was very close friends with the great Imam Shaykh Mahmud ibn Muhammad Shakir, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was a great scholar of the Arabic language and of hadith. Mahmud Shakir, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he was studying with him, Lisanun Arab. The Shaykh Suhailah al-Shaykh was studying with him. When you study with a scholar, it's tasmi'. You're reading to a scholar with proper Arabic diction and grammar, right? A book. He was reading with him, studying with him, Lisanun Arab. How big is Lisan al-Arab? Lisan al-Arab would take the whole shelf on that bookshelf. Studying Lisan al-Arab, which is a source book. It's a dictionary of the Arabic language. That's about 30 volumes. It's about 30 volumes. So the Shaykh, Suhailah al-Shaykh, he was studying with this particular Egyptian scholar of the Arabic language. And he said he got a little tired and fatigued because it's a big undertaking, right? To study Lisan al-Arab with a scholar. And so he told the scholar, he said, isn't there like a more elementary book that we can, go to? Something maybe a little shorter. And he said, maybe you should look for a different job. Now, mind you, this is a scholar who was the wazir of da'wah. He was in charge of da'wah for the whole country of Saudi Arabia. The scholar whose explanation we're reading from right here. That was his job. He was in charge of all the imams and all the Islamic universities to the end of it. That's a huge job, a huge responsibility upon his shoulders. And this scholar told him, maybe you should look for a different job. And if this book is intimidating to you, this 30-volume book, to study this with a scholar and to read it to a scholar and that sort of thing. So obviously we're not saying everybody needs to quit their jobs, right, and change their lives, but we can at least, pick up the pace a little bit when it comes to some basic Arabic. You go to Saudi Arabia and everybody speaks some rudimentary Arabic. The taxi drivers, the people in the shops, so on and so forth. Everybody speaks some rudimentary Arabic. You can at least have some basic rudimentary Arabic, so that if you're lost in a Muslim country, you don't, you can ask for directions or something. Alhamdulillah. So you pick up the pace, alhamdulillah, with Quran and with the Arabic language and with our studies of the religion and memorization of basic texts and that sort of thing.